Alright, hey guys, this is Steven again with another episode of the String Doctor. Today, I'm kind of chasing a problem and all. We're going to talk about how to replace a toner, volume control, some basic soldering skills and all. But the subject I'm working on is my Mexican strap. I think it's like an 06 or 07 model if I remember correctly. Anyway, there was a guy in the 70s and 80s and all named Dan Armstrong. Dan Armstrong went on to build some really cool products, built some cool pedals. One in particular I like is a Dan Armstrong orange squeezer compressor pedal. But he did some really cool with some straps. He was one of the first ones to really start building super straps, all the different switches and different stuff and all. But my favorite modification that he did was the Dan Armstrong blend knob modification that he did to Stratocasters. It doesn't change any of the aesthetics of the guitar. All your switches remain the same, your controls, but instead of having two tone controls at the bottom tone that would now control like these two, I forgot what combination of the switch, I'd have to look that up, but the bottom tone control becomes a blend knob, and essentially the only tone control you have is just your center one. So pretty much with the tone turned down all the way on one, the switch just acts like a normal strap with the normal configuration of the pickups and all. If I can play an A, you get the same normal 5 sounds. But to give you an idea, if you use this blend knob, the center channel remains the same no matter where you flip it. It doesn't affect it. But on the top, and I forgot what the combination is, but it blends the pickups together. Difference. Flip it down here and flip it down here. Kind of a cool, out of phase kind of sound and all there. That's the center being the same. Down here in the 4th position. I don't hear a lot of difference. Maybe a little bit. But the bottom position I like the best instead of just being the bridge pickup by itself this way. It runs these two in series. It's a lot fatter, kind of makes the guitar think it's got a humbucker where it doesn't. Anyway, the problem that I'm having with it is there's not much control. Like when you start out on 1, that's at 5. There's no difference at all. I don't hear a difference in tone till it gets around 8, 9, and 10. It's kind of 9 and 10. It's almost like having a toggle just flipping on and off. So the point is today, we're going to get into this one and pull the pick guard off. We're going to check out this tone control with the multimeter, show you how to check that. And hopefully we're going to change it out with a new one and get more of an independent volume or independent controls over this thing, get it where it's got some more versatility, so it's just not like flipping a switch where having a potentiometer actually makes sense. I don't know if it has a bad potentiometer, if it's going to make a difference. At the very least, I can show you guys some really good soldering skills, how to change out a knob, because you may have one that's scratching, not working at all. Sometimes if you ever had an old guitar, you have to turn the thing all the way up and kind of force it and you play with it, and then finally start playing, then you start playing, it craps out, it'll cut out, or if you touch it, it pops and you have no control. Hopefully today I can show you something to replace that yourself instead of having to take it to a shop, and it won't cost you much more than the cost of controls and a couple of tools. And if you're going to own more than one guitar and you're going to work on more than one guitar, these tools are things that you can add to your list or whatever. Obviously don't have to copy the exact tools that I'm showing, but I'll give you an idea of what to buy. There will be some links in the description below after we get done with the video to these products and all, different ones, manufacturers. I've looked for ones that are cost effective without buying the most expensive thing in the world. After all, we're not doing this for profession. I can't even talk, but it's just for ourselves and enjoy it. And they're products that everyone can afford, but they're not the cheapest thing out there either. You don't want to buy something and have to buy it twice, only use it once either. And that's all that I'm trying to do. But with that being said, we will get into this thing and get into it and see what we're looking at inside of it. We'll get the control out, compare it to a new control on the meter, and hopefully get some more control out of this for what I'm looking for. I don't necessarily have a bad control, but the same process will be repeated to replace a bad control or bad potentiometer in your guitar. With that being said, we'll show you some tools and we'll get started. Okay, moving over to our workbench, we'll talk about a few items you're going to need. I obviously don't have to copy my tools exactly. There will be links to them. And if you guys click on any of those links, that is greatly appreciated by me because I am an affiliate with these links. That does not make your price change. The price is still the same either way, but it does direct a little bit of money back to me for directing folks to the website where they're being sold. And with that being said, I'd greatly appreciate that. Anyway, get into this. You'll need your string winder, this one or the one here, or just the regular manual type and all. There's links to both of those, I think. Anyway, there'll be links to those in the description. Anyway, you may, either one of these, if you don't want to use the electric type, the manual type will work just fine. Or you can use these things right here. Of course, I'm wearing your wrist out, but the older I get, the lazier I get. You will need some kind of a hobby knife. You don't need a set like this necessarily, but a good, something like this, an X-Acto knife, number 11 blade, something you can scrape with. It's going to be used to scrape the back of the potentiometer here where you have to solder some stuff to it and all because it's hard to make it stick to that. Terminals are fine, but it's hard to stick to that. Just anything you scrape with besides like your good pocket knife, because you will ruin a good pocket knife, and use a blade, something like this. It doesn't matter that much. Some sort of wire strippers, because you're going to strip back some wire, obviously, probably when you get into it, that you may have to cut or anything. You also need some kind of cutters to cut some wire. These are flush cutters here. These cut very well. Wouldn't cut anything big with these because you can ruin the jaws on them. And they're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they're pretty nice. Got nice handles on them. They're nice and easy to work with. As I said, you'll need some kind of a stripper to cut back. These are actually made by a local company here, an actual Georgia company, Southwire. They're made by Klein Tools without paying the price for a Klein tool, but they're really nice, really good strippers. Of course, you'll need a soldering iron. Anytime I'm working on electrical stuff, I like a soldering iron with an adjustable temperature. You turn it on. So this is set for 750 degrees. Don't like to go over 750 degrees when I'm working on anything electrical because it will get down in the terminals or something and actually burn the terminals out, especially on capacitors and resistors and stuff such as that. Obviously, you'll need some soldering. This is just standard. See here, 6040 rosin core solder. I think it's 32 thousandths of an inch diameter. This is actually some old Radio Shack. Rest in peace, Radio Shack. So that means when I run out of this, I've got to buy it from someone else. Let's see. What else we need here? Oh, yeah. And you need something to remove old solder. I like to use a pump like one of these. It's really simple. You just push it down like this. When you heat it up with your soldering iron, that thing springs up. When it does, it sucks it up, and eventually you'll have to kind of clean it out as you go. But they work really well. And that's really about it. And the only materials we'll need for this project is our actual potentiometer. In this case, it is an audio tapered, see if we can focus that, a 250K potentiometer. Fenders use 250Ks. The factory is probably 250K, but the problem is the taper is not where I want it to be. It's not kicking in fast enough. Most of your Gibson products, most things equipped with factory humbuckers are going to have a 500K audio or a log taper. Just want to make sure it does say, like that'll be 10 amps, I think, but when it says 250K or 500K, make sure it is an audio taper when you're working on tone and volume controls. With that being said, we'll get this thing on the bench, start taking it apart, and we'll get into this thing. Alright, I'm sure you guys know how this part works, but I'm going to use my trusty screwdriver and my string winder to remove the strings off of this guy. I'm going to quickly move through all of them, loosen them up enough to take them loose. I'm not going to bore you guys with all those details. Alright guys, well, now we got one more screw in the pick guard to remove and pull the electrics out of this thing. We'll see what we're looking at, give you an idea. And yes, I know the strings are still on the guitar. I'm trying to be cheap and not buy more strings. Lift up gently, it may be a little stuck. Try to lift up gently and make sure we're not screwing anything up. Okay, so far we're in pretty good shape. Flip this guy over. I'm going to try to keep from having to take the entire guitar apart just to pull this one control out. All right. Okay. Well, this is the potentiometer that's giving us trouble. We are going to carefully desolder this guy and see if we can get out without making too much of a mess here. I'm going to do this the easy way on these two and go ahead and clip this one and this one because there's plenty of wire to resolder them later. We'll just strip those off when we're ready. And I think I've got enough here on this one too to pick up wire. I do. Put both of those. Keep those two together. Okay. We're not particularly worried about showing that kind of wire this because if your guitar does not have the Dan Armstrong mod in it, it will not be the same as this guitar is. I'm going to try to clip the solder because this leg goes to it where we can do a good test on this guy. There. If your wires are really short, you want to desolder the wires. And I'll show you how to desolder one just because we're doing that. On 750 degrees again, get down there and get close to our work. And once the solder gets good and hot and it's liquefied, I'll put the heat behind it. And it's really simple, just do that. Sometimes you gotta do it more than once if the stuff's hot enough. Oftentimes you do. And the wires hang on. Sometimes you have to finish clipping the wire off. The obvious thing is you want to get a hole in it that you can work with or whatever. I am being lazy. I'm trying not to use this thing as much as I can today. But we've got the control ready to take it out. But before we do, we're going to do a little testing. And use our multimeter here. Alright. Well, our multimeter here should have an ohm setting. You don't want it on the audible setting. But set it on the ohms here. And I'm going to set this up. Hopefully we can see it in the camera there. Let me see that. Yes, we can. Just a little bit more. And where I can see it as well. Alright guys. Got our meter connected up to this thing. Obviously this leg on the end solders back to it for a ground for this particular modification. And we're going to check the resistance in this guy. Well, with it turned all the way down, we're showing 229 K ohms or 229,000 ohms. Turn it to about halfway. We're at 201. And if we turn it all the way up, it should be the least amount of resistance. We've got 2.9 K or 2.9 ohms on it. We back it back down to about 9. We're at showing 1.8 K ohms resistance. 3.8 K. See, halfway we're showing 208. We're just going to use the halfway point at 208. Totals 229,000 ohms, K ohms. But 228 or 208 halfway, 208.7, 208. 3/4 of the way, about 7 is 52 ohms. And finally 2.9. The biggest number is 208 and 2.9. Let's see why this guy is showing us such a, so no resistance where it counts. All right. Well, 270,000 ohms. And that's halfway. 240. Finally 0.7 ohms on the way up, but we turn it back to around 140. The halfway mark I show 241 K ohms. That's 1.6 ohms all the way up. So 241. All right, guys. The question will this new potentiometer solve the problem that I'm trying to fix? Who knows? But at the very least, you guys will see how to replace your potentiometer in your guitar. I mean, that's just how you check a potentiometer, make sure it works, as long as it's within tolerance. Like if it's 250K ohm potentiometer, with it all the way down, should be 250, should be as close to zero as possible when it's all the way up. This is a CTS potentiometer, really good quality. This is a Bourne's, also a good quality. Alpha is a Chinese version. They still make good quality parts, but they're a good bit cheaper. Sometimes you get what you pay for. They're kind of hit or miss on their tolerances sometimes, but they're still a good piece without spending a bunch of money. And then after all, this is what is this about, right? It's not spending a lot of money, isn't it? I'm just using a screwdriver to get my knob off here. We'll set it off to the side. And we've got to find something to remove this guy. I don't actually have a socket in here. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't do this. We're going to loosen the nut up on this guy here. If I can hang on to it. That's embarrassing. Well, the whole thing's turning. But anyhow, we're going to get this guy out of here. See, that's our old one. 250K. We're going to hang on to it because it is a good potentiometer. Not going to throw this away. All right. And we're going to turn the new one. All right, guys. All I've done is install this one out on the board, stuck up a little bit, so I had to put a little bit of a washer on it. Now we're going to get into actually getting some soldering done on this thing and get it the way we want it. It's where our X-Acto number 11 blade comes in. First thing I do is solder this terminal up to it. So we want to rough the surface maybe a little bit. Get it where it's still. This way I don't want to use a good knife because this is not nice on a blade. We got to add a wire here. And also this one here. Have that the same spot. So I'm going to go ahead and poke my finger. I'm going to go ahead and scrape off a little bit of that stuff on there. Get it to stick in another spot here. Okay. Now we got that kind of swung like we want. Got some simple little bent needle nose pliers. I'm going to bend this terminal. Start down here really close to the actual control. Be careful not to break it off. Then you got to run a jumper wire and bring it up here as good as I can. Bend that and touch it. Okay, if it's not touching, we're going to make it touch. So before we get everything hot, we're going to use our strippers here. And this is 24 to 22 gauge wire. This is 22. All we're going to do is come down here and strip it. I just have to strip it for 20 gauge, but that's okay. We can do that too. And these two, of course. Not taking off much, maybe a little over 1/8 of an inch or so. Not much at all. And right one, 20 gauge. I'm gonna strip my 2 grounds also. Okay. What I like to do on the wires that I have got to solder back into the, like on the body, I like to tin my wires just a little bit. You just start that by just taking your soldering iron, so it's already up to temperature. Heat the wire, never heat the solder. Come down here and heat your wire. And you might touch the end of the iron a tiny bit to do this, to get it flowing. But once you get it flowing, just heat your wire and tin it just a little bit. You'll see it turn nice and silvery. And you might want to cover up your work instead of burning it like stupid me just did. But anyway, and same thing here. Just heat the wire and get a little solder falling on it. Now, we're going to come over here on this guy. Remember that terminal we were working on? And we're going to heat the control up quite a bit. Now, if you were wiring components such as this capacitor and all, you'll put a set of forceps, come out some kind of heat sink on the wire so you don't burn up your component. I think we're going to be okay on this. So we want to get the metal hot where to start to take some solder. If you're touching, it's not really taking any solder, it's not going to until you get hot enough. And what you do, put solder on the work and just flow it down onto the work. Put a nice liberal amount on this guy, because it will not be going anywhere later. When you got it hot, go ahead and flow some up here. Just remember we got a wire that's got to go here. We're going to go ahead and do that now. While we got it good and hot. And like so, make sure you flow some. Don't hold it down or you're just going to unstick it. The wire gets pretty hot when you hang on to it. Come over here and just do the same thing. I'm going to sort of throw some solder onto this side. It's really hard to get it to stick if you don't scrape it. That'll be good for just a second. And these two went together and we're going to get them on our control. Alright. Take our two black wires and we'll stick them through the center hole here. Well, the center lug, rather. Just like it was. Some miracle guys, these cell phones, take a picture of what you're doing before you take it apart. If you say, oh, I remember. No, you won't. You'll have to do the same thing I just did in the look because I didn't take a picture of it. And once you get those bent out like you want them, make as solid of a connection as you can before you solder your wire. It takes less work to solder it on. And if you leave good ends sticking up, they're a lot easier to cut off too, make your work look better. Okay. Same thing again here. I'm going to come over here and put a heat on the terminal below the wire. And we'll start flowing some solder in there. And get the hole nice and full around the wire. Same thing here, you got two wires, so you really want to flow plenty in here. And check your work good because you may have some of the holes showing like I do over here. Sorry about my head being in the way, but you gotta see what I'm doing. Remember, once again, this is my guitar. I do play this guitar. This is not something I'm just going to do for show and throw it back on the shelf. I do this because I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge of it. Now we'll hit that blob of solder we put over here a minute ago. And we've got a good ground established. Okay. Turn off our tip over here on our steel rule. Should be done with our soldering iron. Tuck all this back together and get it down in there after we check our stuff. After we trim off these little wires sticking out. Probably wouldn't make a hell of beans, but I am picky. And if I was doing this for someone else, I would expect them to expect me to do this. So. And if I was paying someone to do it, I would expect this to be done. So at least you do it for myself, right? Check all our connections. Everything seems to be good and tight. Nothing is touching that shouldn't be touching. Seem to be in good shape. And no, Fender will not have more like a red wire. That was a piece of wire that I put in here because it was what I had. Didn't have any more yellow. And I didn't want to use black on the positive side. Alright, make sure all your ground's still connected. Make sure you didn't mess up any connections in your terminals or anything. Clean up your mess. Okay. Just make sure you don't have any wires or anything sticking up in the way. Obviously, orient your knobs, just like the rest of them and all. If you care, I do, but once you get them back straight, just put them back together. You know, check your knobs. And I'm not going to bore you guys, put screws back in this. I hope you know how to do that. I'm going to put this thing back together, get the strings on and tune it, and we'll go with her. While we have the guitar apart, I will take some of my favorite stuff in the world, my Dr. Doug Axe Wax, and wax and clean this fretboard. The fret's already clean because I just put strings on it, but I'm going to use it for a chance to clean it up while I've got it apart. With that being said, I will be back in a minute and we'll sum this thing up. Alright guys, we got this guy back together, so we're going to find out together whether I successfully put it in or not to start with, but we're going to see if this new knob works. We're using our snort tuner again just to check our tuning. So it snorts super tight that we talked about in our first video. We talked about the tuning, setup, and string change. If you're unfamiliar with how to change your strings and how to get your setup right, your intonation, all that, or if it's just a simple string change, please refer back to that video. We cover that very thoroughly. And hopefully you can figure that out for yourself. Now, obviously, if you can't change your own strings, you probably don't want to jump in and start doing electrical work or anything. Kind of give it time. So that's pretty good. Well, we're going to turn up our volume and see how we're doing here. And now let's see if this thing makes a difference or not. We're going to turn the tone, the volume all the way up on it. Still not ideal, but it's still much better than the old one. Has much more of that fatter tone I'm looking for. If we throw a little dirt on it, yep. Anyway, well, it was a successful change. I'm happy with it because I actually got something I wanted out of it. Hopefully, it's showing you guys how to change out a potentiometer, getting you familiar with some more tools, with a soldering iron, how to flow solder, how to remove it, and how to make successful change. The biggest thing is take your time, take it slow, keep it clean and nice, and when you're looking at your work, is this something you would pay for someone to do for you? That's the thing. If you can do a professional repair at home and save the money, then once you buy the tools are yours. I mean, the soldering irons last forever if you take care of them. And they're really good parts, really good tools. Hopefully everything will work out for you. Anyway, come back with me next time. We're going to get back into our Mexican Telecaster over here, installing a 4-way switch into it, which will give you more sounds. And it takes a Telecaster and blends the two pickups together. And it actually makes it think it's got a humbucker, getting a fatter, more rock and roll sound where it's not just all the twangy stuff we're used to with the Tele. Anyway, if you watched this far, please scroll down, leave comments, tell me what I can improve on, tell me what I can do better, tell me what you like, and tell me what you don't like, but please be nice. But also tell me what you guys would like to see. What do you want to see me work on? What do you guys want to see fixed? What are your questions? What do you want to learn to do yourself? And if I can help you, I will sure do a video about that. Once again, please check on the links below. If you see something you liked on the table, some of the tools you want to buy or the parts you need to buy, please go through those links and check them out. They are affiliate links. I am selling through affiliates. It does help me out a little bit if you buy something. I gain a small commission, but the price of it is still the price. It doesn't go up because I'm selling them through this. It's the same if you clicked on them yourself and bought them. But if you do, it does help me out. It helps me fund my hobby, and I do appreciate it. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Remember, keep playing, keep tearing them apart, keep rebuilding them, making them better. Keep this hobby going, and keep it going for all of us. Thanks a lot.